You can just summarize. No pockets, no Kleenex. Oh, that should probably go with the letter.
You're always prepared.
You want me to read it? Usually, not always. Crocheting, my crocheting bag. All right, I'll read it. Let me just pull it up.
What are we waiting for?
We were just waiting for Jacques to turn on the camera.
Seconds for the signatures.
What's that? I'll wait. Yeah, good idea. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us at our regular Board of Education meeting today. The time is 7:31. I'll call this meeting to order. Could we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Our first item on the agenda is a very special item. It's an introduction announcing our new superintendent, Mr. Andrew Gonzalez. Andrew is joining us tonight. Would you mind standing up for us? And we would like to officially welcome. I'm really excited to have Andy join us. Andy comes with a plethora of experience from all the way from a teacher in Baltic to an assistant principal in Bolton. And as most of us know, he spent 5 years here at the Lebanon Elementary School as our building principal, and then moved along to East Hampton, but is now back with us to join us as superintendent, and we are thrilled. Hello, Andy. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. If I could, I just wanted to say I'm humbled and honored to have this extraordinary opportunity. Thank you to the Board of Education. Thank you to Pat for being so welcoming and supportive in the transition meetings that we've already begun to have. I'm really looking forward to being a part of this community again, working with the amazing families, teachers, admin team, and especially the students. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Andy. We're happy to have you. With that as well, that means that we would have to say goodbye to our interim superintendent, Ms. Ciccone. Thank you so much for everything. On behalf of the board, we just wanted to say thank you with a little token. I'll put it right back here for you.
We're busy.
Right. But thank you very much for everything that you have done for this district in the short time that you have been here. It's been invaluable, so we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Turn my microphone on. Okay, great. We're going to move along to item number 3 on our agenda, which is communication. We do have a couple of letters of resignation that we would like to share. All right. Let me just make sure this is...
So we do have one letter of resignation for this evening, and that is coming to us from Emily McKenzie, who has been a music teacher here at Lyman High School. She is truly has enjoyed her time here. She's very excited, but she is starting her family and deciding to move on and do those kinds of things. So she's closing this chapter with Lebanon Public Schools and very excited for where she will go next with her family, and thanks everyone. So certainly when it's time, I would hope the board would accept with regret her letter of resignation.
Thank you, Pat. The board also received a letter of communication, which I would like to read aloud as was sent to the entire board. Dear Board of Education members and Superintendent Ciccone, normally I would share my thoughts during the public speaking portion of the agenda, but I have a family birthday to celebrate on Tuesday evening. First of all, I want to thank you all for your steadfast support of teachers and students this year. Unlike boards of education in some Connecticut districts, you have always put the safety and well-being of our school family at the forefront. You engaged members of the school community from the earliest point of our experience with the pandemic and worked with us to create a workable plan to teach our students during a once-in-a-century event. Throughout the year, during ups and downs in school and in distance, you worked with teachers and administrators to maintain a safe learning environment for all of us. Now we are looking forward to a new school year, trying to make plans to make school life somewhat closer to normal. However close we are to normal, though, we still will be dealing with the results of more than 5 marking periods in flux and the effect this has had on our students. In addition to the gaps we have seen in academic growth, we are also seeing a need for greater emotional support. This is especially true for students at the immediate and middle grade level, who have been especially hurt by the disruption to relationships with their teachers and to move toward greater academic independence. As our district makes plans for the generous grants available through the federal government's relief programs, let us remember the benefits of the opportunity for a close relationship between student and teacher and the benefits of a lower teacher-student ratio for both academic and emotional growth. I ask once again that you strongly consider using some of the grant funds to maintain the 4 classroom teachers for grade 4 at LES and to restore the structure of a 4-member team for grades 5 and 6 at LMS. In the next 2 years, the time period in which the grants will be in effect will be extremely important to our work in helping our students to overcome the obstacles they faced over the last year. The research that shows the value of small class sizes is even more important as we work to help our students regain both their emotional equilibrium and their learning momentum. Thank you for listening. Sincerely, Jeanette Picard, Reading Consultant, Lebanon Middle School. Thank you. And thank you for that, Jeanette. We will move on to our recognition portion of the agenda. We're going to begin with some district retirees.
So at our last board meeting, we announced the 3 retirees: Mr. Larry Strom from Lyman High School, Molly Lathrop, French teacher from Lyman High School, and Holly Parker, the veteran nurse from the middle school. I think that Molly is here with us this evening. Molly, are you here? She is not? No. Okay. All right. Well, Jay, would you like to say a few words about Molly?
Sure.
And actually, Mr. Strom, if you would like.
Which way is on?
Up.
Fine. Good.
All right. So I wrote down a few words when thinking about Molly. We honored Molly and Larry and at our last faculty meeting, beginning of June, out in the lovely amphitheater that we now have out there. It was a wonderful faculty meeting. But when you think about Molly, it's hard to put into words all that she means to Lyman. If we need a volunteer, she's there. If we need someone to play piano in a musical, Molly's there. No French Honor Society? No problem for Molly. She just starts one. I don't know if when you walked in, if you saw all the people out there, that was our French cabaret. That's Molly, you know. She does so much for this school. It's amazing. You know, I put down here, her principal sends out a webinar to people, and Molly signs up for it, watches it, takes notes, and then sends it back to me. You know, pandemic strikes, and what do the parents and students say? That she has done an absolutely incredible job. Her classes are rigorous, but everybody is there and everybody is participating. She's been such a highly valued member of our world language faculty, and you know, we said she is going to be so difficult to replace because she is so much a part of the fabric of all that we are here at Lyman.
Mr. Laskarzuski, would you like to say something on behalf of
Holly Parker started here in December of 2003. She's been a phenomenal nurse for 18 years. But beyond that, Holly always went above and beyond and was an active member of our staff beyond her nursing duty. She was a member of our student assistance team, our climate team. She did numerous field trips all over the country and in state. And the other thing Holly is infamous for is her training that she did year after year. Whenever we would come in August, she would always have to do bloodborne pathogen training, all those required trainings that everybody dreads when they're dying to just get into their classroom. But she was a trooper with it and did a great job making sure everybody was informed. And we had a great going away party for her last week where she had to bring her family and get some recognition in a really nice setting. So she's going to be hard to replace. Thank you.
Just to add to that also, I'm sorry, Jay, but Holly also, like all school nurses, had a particularly difficult year this year, and a lot of responsibility was on their shoulders, so we absolutely want to say thank you to her for her services, as well as our other district nurses, so thank you very much. Go ahead, Jay.
I just want to say Molly's here.
Oh, Molly, thank you.
It's been a pleasure to work at Lyman 18 years, and it's been a great pleasure to work with Jay and Sam to get so much support from everybody in this town. It's just like hometown for me in Yay Lyman. I'm supposed to be on the 100-year anniversary committee and promoting everything about Lyman that I can. So moving forward, I thank you for all of your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have a cake that's back there on the table, I believe. That's an easy take and go if you would like. It's made up of cupcakes, and it's kind of a special technical construction of a cake. As well as some flowers there for Molly if someone wants to go up and hand it. Jay, I don't know if you want to, or Sam. Just help her out with that. Okay, we'll figure it out. Okay, I think
we also have another person we would like to recognize and thank this evening. That person is our student representative, Delton Wentworth. Delton, I'm sure the board can pipe in at any time, but I do want to just say how impressed and how grateful we are for your perspective. Not only have you brought such a powerful perspective from Lyman, but you've also been able to represent Lebanon Middle School and Lebanon Elementary School in a way that we haven't done before. So I do want to say congratulations, thank you so much, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. If anybody else would like to.
it's good to have him here in person for a change.
That's right, that's right. And moving right along, we have our teacher.
We do have a lovely parting gift for Delton, and I believe it's on the table. We set everything up thinking that
we would take it as we go.
Take it go kind of thing. Here we go.
Great. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Delton, you are my favorite part of the Board of Ed meetings, just so you know.
Everybody else is too.
Exactly.
Right after his report. Okay. Well,
great. I hear that we have some recognition for our Teachers of the Year and Instructional Assistants of the Year.
And Sam McCarthy heads up our Teacher of the Year program, if you will, and she's going to speak on each of our Teachers of the Year from each building.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to ask that the two Teachers of the Year who are present to stand. So David Covino and Kate Cofrancesco. If you could stand, please.
So this year, we continued with our procedure from last year, which was to have the community as well as faculty, staff, students nominate teachers from their prospective buildings. So we did that through Google Forms. It worked out really well last year, so we continued it. And then the faculty and staff voted on the nominated teachers. And here's just a little bit about our 3 teachers of the year. So from Lebanon Elementary School, Jan Gervais started at Lebanon Public Schools 22 years ago. She started as a reading teacher and moved into teaching both 2nd and 3rd grade. During the 2021 school year, Jan served as a designated distance learning teacher for the 3rd grade. Jan's service, classroom management, has a focus on social emotional learning and teaching her students the importance of grit and perseverance. Students thrive both academically and socially in her class. Jan has an avid love for reading. She makes our Reading Hall of Fame every year and participates in several reading events throughout the year. She's not here tonight, but congratulations to Jan Gervais. Kate, from the middle school, Kate Cofrancesco, has 6 years of service with Lebanon Public Schools. She is currently the library media specialist at the middle school. She also teaches exploratory classes with grades 6 and 8 students. She has been a team leader, and she also was instrumental in our recent Little Free Library Bench project, which was in the Lebanon Life, if you didn't see that, where hikers along the airline trail stop to rest and read a book. She is also instrumental in the summer reading program, where she coordinates with Jonathan Trumbull Library to facilitate summer reading. She also loves gardening and cats. From Lyman, we have David Covino. David has 5 years of service with Lebanon Public School. He currently teaches art, and in this time has grown and garnered our students' love for the arts exponentially. This year alone, Dave has filled 258 seats within his 9 classes throughout the course of the year. Not only does David organize and prepare Mayfest at Lyman, he also helps with organizing and entering Lyman students into the ECC Art Show at NFA for the past few years. He also helped to organize and create an Evening with the Arts at Lyman, which showcases students across all grade levels in art-related courses. In addition to all this, he became a senior project monitor, and he's a department head and runs 2 X-Block clubs. Of course, we have to mention he's a Red Sox fan as well. So wish these 2 luck and Jan luck. They'll be interviewing for District Teacher of the Year on Thursday. So we'll be announcing that on Thursday, and congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, Ms. McCarthy.
And finally, but not the least of which, a long history in our instructional assistant of the year, and Cheryl Beekert is going to speak on behalf of Linda Peterson.
So, unfortunately, our instructional assistant of the year was unable to join us tonight, but it is Linda Peterson. This is probably one of the highlights of my year as Director of Pupil Services, is engaging in this whole process with the applications that come in, because, you know, we ask for nominations from students, from teachers, from admin, from parents. Our committee gets together. Every year we get a nice pool of nominations, and we kind of sift through the nominations. And we always look for the individual who's been nominated that really brings it home for us and the impact that they've had on the students. And it was clear to us this year when we read the nominations that Linda Peterson, who has been employed as an instructional assistant with Lebanon Public Schools for 32 years, was the forerunners this year. So then, you know, we always go and plan that we're going to surprise the IA of the year during the work day, and that's always exciting. We love to do that too. And so we chose, right, we always do, to go into a classroom. And when our members of the committee walked into the classroom, exactly what we read in the nominations is what we saw in the classroom. She's sitting at a table, she's surrounded by kids, they're engaged in, discourse and doing work with her, and it was great. We actually surprised her, Mr. Oaks.
You scared me.
Yeah. Which was funny, right? Because, admin from this building, I'm walking in, Rita Keelis-Glover was with us at the time, the IA of the year from last year, the president of the IA union. We walk into Mr. Oates' room and he's like, what is happening? Right? And he completely surprised Linda Peterson. I mean, every single time I've seen her, she's just that person who's just really happy to be at work and working at work, working with kids, and just full of joy all the time. So we'll recognize her again at convocation, and we'll present her with a plaque. Yeah, it was great. So,
Congratulations. Thank you, Cheryl. Our next recognition is the 8th grade Job Shadow Project.
Right, and I think we have 2 students here this evening. Mr. Al,
Mrs. Strong?
There we go.
Playing musical chairs.
Good evening. So I'm Erica Strong. I'm the 8th grade language arts teacher at the middle school, along with Miss Asis, who is our school counselor at the middle school. And we have 2 wonderful, awesome students here who want to tell you all about our Job Shadow project.
Hi, my name's Haley. So for 8th grade, we do something called the Job Shadow Project, which is where we spend a day with, we go to, we pick a career that we're interested in, and we interview one of the workers there. But this year, unfortunately, because of COVID, we couldn't actually go to the job site, but we would interview the host either on Zoom or in a phone call. So we would write an essay about the job and create a presentation which we would share with our community. For my project, I interviewed a school nurse named Cindy. She works in Colchester as a school nurse. So then I chose this career because I like biology, and I'm interested in a career that involves helping people. So I learned from it what it's like to work in an environment with children, and that there are some disadvantages as well as advantages. Some disadvantages like not being able to choose your own vacation days, but one of the main advantages is being able to work with children, and learn what the environment would look like, the working environment would look like. So in the future, I would like to pursue a career in the medical field. And in high school, we have to do a senior project, and I would hope to do it about a similar topic as my job shadow.
Hi, my name is JP Cook, and I also did the 8th grade Shadow Board project. I chose sports podcasting, which was really popular during the global pandemic times, as we are still living in now. And my interview was this company or team called Do Not Sports. You can find them on the internet. It was really hard business to go through, and there's a lot of questions and challenges that go with it as well, from money to time to even having the patience to do this job mentally. It's a very long and hardening job. So they even, after going through the high school and senior project, I am probably going to do this again, most likely. And They even gave me a chance to come to their studio and do a podcasting stream with them because they thought I was so good with the job and the job that I chose. So, will I do this for my senior project again? Yes, most likely. And the reason why I want to go to a tech school and do this job is because a tech school can prepare me for this job, that I can get a job straight out of the gate and help the community and the economy around it.
Great, thank you so much. We're so grateful for you to come and tell us about your 8th grade projects. This is really important work, so thank you so much. You should have recognized his Yankee. That's not my thing. Okay, this brings us to the public participation portion of the meeting. The Lebanon Board of Education, according to bylaws, will allow up to 30 minutes for public participation, with each individual speaker allocated 2 minutes. What I'm going to ask is if you would like to speak, if you could stand up, come to the table. I think the microphone is still on. State your name and your address, and you will have 2 minutes for your comments. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak tonight? Come on up.
Mike, still on?
Yep.
All right. My name's Nick Constant. I live at 244 East Hebron Turnpike. I'm not a public speaker, so my daughter Kendall gave me advice. She said to imagine all you guys in, she's my oldest daughter, she said to imagine you in tuxedos, the women, and tutus, the men. So hopefully that'll help. I grew up in Franklin. I'm from the area. My last name's Constant, so I'm of the Constant Brothers fame. I've got 5 little ones at home, 3 of which are in the school system. And I'm here tonight to talk about the masks. When this all started way back in March of last year, we were in Colchester still. We moved here in May, and the remote learning was tough, and when in school learning started again, the masks were tough for the kids. They really didn't want to wear them all the time, and we'd hear it quite often, and we kept telling them that it was temporary, and that this would end at some point. And so I'm here to make good on that, and I want to try to encourage you guys to do what you can within your power to get this lifted, this mandate lifted. Tonight, I didn't really want to get up here and talk all kinds of statistics and facts and stuff because all that's already out there. There's plenty of discussion about it. We're seeing states starting to lift their mandates and stuff around the country, and I think it's time. And so I'm here to encourage you to be a front runner in that. So instead of talking all that, I wanted to talk just outcomes and strategies. So first of all, if DPH and DOE decide to lift the mandate, then this is all for naught. But if that's not the case, I would like for the Board of Education here in Lebanon to put forward a strong posture as far as next year coming back with not in masks. I think that's sort of what New York did last week with the CDC. I think that is a good move if we really want to get back to the old normal. I think that you guys have more power than you might think you do. Scenario 2 is, I already did scenario 2. No, yeah, so scenario 2 is that posture. Scenario 3, they don't. They don't listen. They want to stick to their safety first funds, even though everything else is opening up. We can go into Walmart without a mask on. It's almost a charade at this point, I think. But what's still in your power, as leaders here at the municipal level, is you're the enforcement arm of this. They can't enforce it. The state of Connecticut is not going to come in and enforce masks on kids. They're not going to, they may threaten, with funding and that kind of stuff. But I would like you guys to put the kids first here and push for choice for parents on this. If you guys can't find the gumption to do that, I think our fourth outcome here is that we're back in masks in the fall, and at that point, as parents, I think the thing that we're going to be forced to do is work on non-compliance peacefully to push the agenda here, because I think that's how things can change. Through peaceful, non-violent disobedience, we can change things, and we can make it hard on. But that's not the option we want. That's like our last option, I think. But that's not what we're looking to do. But if it comes to that, we will organize. I've already got the paperwork started to run for Board of Ed, so I can fight it from the inside. So if it comes to that, we're going to continue. We're going to be here all summer and until the decision's made. So, and then the last outcome is everybody just goes about their business like we did this past year, and I don't think that's going to happen. Not from me, and not from some others in town here, and not from some others around the state, around the country that are pushing to get back to the old normal. And so, I didn't do this to be adversarial. I don't want to be. I really like you to make the right decision on this, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who'd like to speak this evening?
I will. Shelley Librant, 126 Old Highway, Lebanon. Again, I don't like to talk in front of people, but I'm doing it because I feel so strongly about this. It just saddens me how quickly we all threw masks on these kids and how slowly we are working to remove it from the kids. We hear people talk about how they're suffering, the mental health crisis that's happening. Kids, I just want to say thank you to Lebanon. Compared to other towns, Lebanon has done an awesome job keeping the kids in school whenever possible, but still the kids are suffering. And we talk about it, but we're not doing anything to change it. And it's time. We know that we're ending up the rest of this year in masks, but we all expect change come fall. That's it. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak?
All right, I'll go on that. It's not why I'm here, but it's low-hanging fruit. So, I totally agree with the last two speakers. Oh, sorry. Christopher Jordan, 170 Seabury Road, Lebanon. So I totally agree with them, but at the same time, and I don't know what's gone on in other communities in Connecticut, and by the way, I'm very nervous about talking in public. But from what I've seen in Lebanon totally nailed it. Like, I have a feeling that it stands alone or in a very small group in Connecticut. I don't know that firsthand, but that's my sense, and you guys probably know better than I do. But if that's the case, and I'm right, I congratulate you on what you've done. You've done a fantastic job. And that's it.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak this evening? Okay. Seeing none, we will move along on our agenda. Our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Motion by John, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the student representative's report.
So first off, I'd like to apologize. I couldn't make it to the last Board of Ed meeting. I came down with just a bug going around. Turned out it wasn't COVID, so I'm very grateful for that. And I'll start off with pretty much last month's updates, and then I can get into this month's. For the elementary school, they told me all about the fourth grade ceremony, the field trip or the field day that they had planned, the fourth grade celebration they had planned. They were very excited that it was in person, but they hadn't told me any details yet. But luckily they told me those for the next round. They also told me how excited they were for middle school and how some guidance counselors came down, how they showed a video, and I think that's a great job and a great way to keep kids in Lebanon to continue in the Lebanon public schools in general, which I think will very much help enrollment. I asked them what they were eating. They told me they got their mother's birthday presents or Mother's Day presents, and it was like 3 days before Mother's Day, so that was also me kind of giving them the hint to get, And yeah, that pretty much sums up that one. And then for this month for the elementary school, they told me how they will be signing a song at graduation using American Sign Language for Count on Me by Bruno Mars. So that will be performed at the graduation, and I cannot make it to that, but I did tell them that I wish them the best of luck. They told me how about graduation, how it's a pretty limited amount of tickets, but they're still happy that they still get people there. And then they told me all about the big celebration they had planned and all of the candy and snacks they were going to consume. They also told me about the wonderful T-shirts they had designed, which was, I thought, a great concept. It was a husky turning into a panther, so it was that kind of symbolism there on the T-shirt. And they told me about the art show that they made. And they've been very busy, and I think they're very happy to have so many activities ongoing. Middle school, I also couldn't make the meeting last month, so I don't have anything to report on the middle school's end. For the high school, we launched our American Rocket Challenge, and it has been a massive success, I believe. In front of you should be a packet just giving some general explanations about it. Feel free to flip through that at your own leisure. But I think the kids, I know a couple of the kids, and whenever I talk to them about it, they greatly enjoyed it. They've told me all about it, and they're really hoping to continue to do it for the remaining years of their Lion career. In other words, the music department has been kind of busy. We have a couple of concerts coming up, and we're very happy to have done them in the amphitheater thus far. And it's been completely redone, and it has been fabulous. So I think it's great that we remodeled that. And when it comes to masks, I would agree that I think the students are ready to take off the masks. I'd also like to say that not all of the students are ready to take off their masks. There's always a few people out there.
Just want to check.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with them. I think it would be nice for the students and the parents to have a choice. And I think that sums it up. If you guys have any questions for me, go ahead.
Any questions for that one?
Yes, I have a question. Anything about the Lyman sports season, like track or baseball?
Yes. The tennis team did not so well, but we had a great time nonetheless. I personally got 1 win out of the 9 games total, so not too shabby. The track team, sports, but I know a couple of students that I know made it pretty far into states and along those lines. And baseball as well has been greatly enjoying practice. I know a lot of parents have been coming and watching games. I don't know too many students that have been watching games, but I know the parents and grandparents have been very happy that they've been able to watch their children play their respective sports.
Thank you.
I just remembered one more thing. I had a question about how graduation was going to work. I know that it's mostly, I believe all 3 schools are outside.
Correct.
And then most schools were each student was given 4 tickets. And I was wondering if you guys were going to let like exceptions in, if there's any family or friends who really want to be there. Are you going to let them like just line up in the background, at least watch it from afar? Or if you guys were accommodating at all any extra people that wish to attend?
So, as far as I know at this point, we're waiting for a map from the Professional Event Resources Company that's helped to position it so we could get the maximum number of folks in, distanced appropriately, and so on. And we're waiting for that map. I believe Jay has contacted them, and they are sending something to see if we can effectively open up sidelines and things like that, so people could, we won't have the chairs for it, but at least if there's some areas that they can get to. Okay. But I've not seen the map yet, and I don't believe the high school staff has yet, but it's coming.
As long as you're thinking about that, I'm very happy.
Thank you, Dalton. Any questions?
Oh, can I see what this is, by the way?
Yeah.
I've been very curious. I got a Yukon binder. Feels like a birthday. And a very nice water bottle. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to Yukon for you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Dalton. Again, I just want to say thank you from the board yet again, and so much appreciated. All of your hard work and your time and dedication to the board as a student is commendable. So thank you so much.
He even shared, humbled, that he brought each of my student leaders something that they had mentioned that they liked in a previous meeting, and brought that to the meeting. And when they were surprised to see me in person outside for the first time, I wish I had a video. It was you've had quite an impact on those 4 students. I have no doubt they're going to make an impact due to a part to the impression that you made. You talked about college, you talked about options, you talked about theater, you talked about all sorts of options for children to participate at Lyman. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dalton.
I do also have a calculus test tomorrow, so I will be. I think so.
Thank you, Dalton. And Mr. Abicelli, would you like to make an introduction?
Yes, I would. And the person that I will be introducing is also taking that same AP calculus test tomorrow. So we went did an exhaustive search at Lyman for the next student representative. We interviewed a number of students, and we came up with this student here just did an outstanding job. This is Rachel Springer. She is a junior, so she'll be a senior next year. She did a phenomenal job. She's her poise, her maturity. She's going to be an excellent next rep for us. Sam, I don't know if you have any more that you want to say.
No, I mean, we've heard her grueling.
Yeah, definitely.
We made it through. We're very excited.
Well, welcome, Rachel. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
I'm very excited to work with you all and to represent the student body.
We're glad to have you. Thank you so much. Welcome. Item number 8 on the agenda, which is our reports of committees. I have a feeling it's maybe a rather short section of our agenda today compared to this. Danelle, did you have a report? No report. Thank you. John?
No report, but we're looking forward to not being so dormant next year with Mr. Gonzalez.
Very good. And Alexis, aging security? No report. Great. Maureen, policy. You do have a report.
I have a report. We had a meeting. It's in your packet. And we will hopefully be having a first reading of several policies today. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Maureen. And Dawn, communication. No report. Great, thank you. And Nicole, finance and facilities.
Don't get too used to this, but no report.
And Matt, East Conduct.
No, I was driving around the country for the last several weeks, so I didn't get to do it.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Governance, however, did meet. The governance committee is thinking about a Board of Education retreat, along with our new superintendent. So please, if you have any vacations coming up in the first week or so of July, just shoot me an email. Let me know what your availability is for those 2 weeks, so we will know dates to stay away from. The idea of the retreat is, again, to go over Board of Education roles and responsibilities. I do just want to say that I'm really hoping that all 9 of us can be there, along with our new superintendent, so that we can, for portions of it, so that we can have some time to really, review those roles and responsibilities, along with what are our goals for the next year with our new superintendent. So. Just don't forget to send me an email if you're going away in the first couple of weeks of July. Sound okay? Okay, great. That's it for reports of committees. I know Mark is not here, but negotiations did not meet. We did meet, and there is something on the agenda for the policy to discuss. Okay, so we're going to move along to a report of the superintendent. Item number 1 is enrollment.
Yes, item number 1 is enrollment, and pretty much we are right around hovering around our usual. We are at 950 at the moment. We still have 24 students in magnet settings. And you have a listing of those magnet schools on the second page in the board packet. Any questions about the enrollment? It's virtually unchanged. No questions. Okay. Moving on to the next 3 items, I just listed there as the moving up ceremony for the elementary school, which is going to take place on the 15th. It's in the evening at 6 p.m. And that has been a thing of beauty in terms of the preparations and all of the grading of the seating areas and all of that. I don't know if Rita, looking, foggy, my glasses, Rita.
I know, I figured you're foggy. Yes, and I do want to thank, I see John Fairchild is here. He's been instrumental in helping me figure out where the chair set up. Justin Pelletier is not here, but he's the IT sound system, so we're able to do it economically. Parents have been wonderful, working with teachers. We started practicing. The kids are super excited. So the weather's looking good. I'm losing sleep over it, but I keep looking every day. But we go on rain days, so we're looking forward to it.
Go ahead, Matt.
So this is just kind of a generic question, and I'm still going through 3 weeks of mail. But it looks like the Board of Ed member, we may have gotten an invitation to that, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to go, but I don't want to take the place of a parent or a grandparent that might be able to go. So
yeah, I appreciate you stating that. There is your seat. So we'd love for you to attend if you can. I know there's lots of ceremonies that.
I just don't want to take a seat away from you.
Yeah.
No matter or a friend or something.
That's a good point, Matt. Thank you. Thank you. That's a good point. Okay, moving on to the middle school?
Yeah, following up on the middle school promotion ceremony, is taking advantage of the, in order to have that outdoor in-person at the high school, that same setup that we have for the graduation, for the high school graduation. Mr. L., I don't know if you wanted to say anything about it.
Yeah, I'll just echo Rita's comments that thank God for John and the crew. And also the superintendent deserves great thanks too. So when we switched to having an outside ceremony that hadn't been planned, she literally, within 5 minutes of that decision, had maintenance and everybody, myself, we all got together and said, we're going to make this happen. And so that was a great support. And John jumped right in, and basically because we've never done it before, we're using the experience from Rita and Jay and kind of amalgamating the two ceremonies, and John is going to get it all set up using all of our own equipment in-house. We just had to end up renting chairs. So we're going to follow the format that everyone else is doing and have it set up here on the field the night before Lyman visitors.
Great, thank you. And Lyman?
And then, of course, Lyman Memorial High School graduation, which is shaping up beautifully. Beautiful program. I was a little surprised to see my name all over the award ceremony brochure that just happened to land in my inbox, but thank you for that. And it's looking really good, and as in answer to Delton's question, we are looking at possible sideline areas. I think Jay is considering with the mapping from the company that positioned that so we could get the maximum number of folks out on the field. I don't know if you have any more to add, Jay.
We sent out to all of our senior parents the link for the live stream. We've gotten that from Event Resources already. That's when it will be active that night of the 18th. So if anybody cannot be there on the Board of Ed and wants to watch it, anybody here in the audience, you can't be there, you want to see our wonderful Lyman graduates, you'll be able to do that. And that link should be active for a significant amount of time afterwards as well. So it'll be there similar to our setup from last year. Okay. It's funny. I just sent something to Event Resources schematic that I created myself, and everybody's starting to laugh back here because of like the stick figures that I drew and all this stuff. But I needed to give the Event Resources people, they came out here, but I wanted them to know like what I envisioned too. Where the parents were going to be, where our our distinguished guest speakers who are going to be presenting scholarships to our seniors, where the band is going to be, where the faculty is going to be. So they needed to know that when they're making their map. So we're all on the same page, and that way we can accurately get a sense of how much room we have in there. If we're going to open it up, how much space do we have and how many people can we safely get in there? So we're working hard on that. We're still working hard on that. You saw in the letter the last superintendent's letter. This planning actually started back probably even before January. Reaching out to Event Resources, we had multiple scenarios at that time. We didn't know what in January. If you think about how bad COVID was in this area, one of our scenarios was another drive-up graduation because we weren't sure. Once things changed, then that kind of, went on the back burner, and we looked at how we could safely get people out on the field to try and get back to some sense of normalcy. So this is our attempt at, some sense of normalcy for our seniors.
Great. Thank you so much, Jay. Looking forward to all of those ceremonies. All
right, if there are no other questions or comments about that, moving on to the summer meal program, I just wanted to give you a quick update on what that program that you approved, because this is a wonderful thing to offer families and children throughout the summer. As you know, we decided that we would survey. The board was gracious in saying even if we hit that, 65, 75 mark, we would still go forward with it. We got 138 surveys back of individuals saying they would participate in the summer meal program. So we have received the waiver to continue with the meal program. It's going to start on June 21st and it will end on August 15th. All students of the Lebanon Public Schools and all children that are 18 or under who reside in Lebanon will be eligible to receive the free meal packages. Children do not have to be present to pick them up. If mom or dad or, need to send big brother or someone in to pick them up, that's perfectly acceptable. The pickup location will be here at the high school. The schedule will be every Monday and every Thursday from 8 to 9 a.m. is when you can come by and grab the to-go meals. On Monday, the packages will have 3 breakfasts packed in them and 3 lunches. And then on Thursday, when you arrive, the packages will contain 4 breakfasts and 4 lunches. So it's literally enough food for 7 days, delivered or handed out on 2 days of the week.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And then going on to number 4, the ARP, the ARP, trouble saying that, the ARP ESSER or ESSER 3, as some people refer to it, has begun. And it is a very big grant that needs to be written, and it is something that really needs to be aligned with the goals and strategies that were outlined in ESSER 2. And I think I'm going to ask Holly to jump in a moment, but the overarching piece of ESSER 3 is the constant communication of it. Meaningful conversations, feedback and input from parents and families and community members and so on. The state is getting very particular for a very good reason, and that is because the initial ESSER or relief monies were about relief. They were about masks. They were about cleaning supplies. They were just as much about that as they were about anything instructional. ESSER 2 was more about strategies to begin assessing students, knowing them, knowing their needs, knowing what the learning losses were, and starting to put strategies and goals together to address that. But ARP ESSER is all about innovation. It's a big chunk of money that Lebanon is entitled to, $779,000 and change. And it sounds like a big, big pile of money. But we have a listing, which I'm going to just pass out to board members, just checking off what we've heard so far that folks are looking for. And with just what's here, we've already spent, if you will, $780,000. So there is no design on limiting what we can ask for, but we're going to have to be critical and judicious and keep bringing it back to the board so the board can hear what we're hoping to do with this money and putting in a good plan. So we need to get this rolling because it's due very shortly. So I don't know, Holly, if you want to jump in and...
Yeah, it's a very short turnaround in terms of the whole process. It is due into the grant system by August 16th. So you can imagine there's a lot of planning that has to happen, a lot of communication and sharing. So I know that I've been in contact with the subcommittee for curriculum to be able to start to share that, because the work in terms of being innovative have to be tied to data. The same still priorities are in place, and I've gone through the grant pretty thoroughly. There is a question about how does it connect to our ESSER 2. So one of the things that we'll be doing is working as an administrative team, and Andy will be joining us, of course, leading this work, as we move forward in really needing to make some decisions. What does that story look like? That's sort of how I approach grant writing, is what is our story? And the question we'll have to answer is, what is the impact? What evidence do we have? So it's tied to data, it's tied to supporting students, and it's really looking at that innovation. So this chart, does everyone have that, was sort of me thinking aloud on paper based upon what I've heard and needs. And in trying to assign dollar amounts to things just to kind of see what it plays out to. I mean, if we did everything there, we would be done with the money next year. The goal is to be able to put programming in so that we can sustain programming, to build something and to be able to carry on that opportunity. It concludes in 2024. So we have the ESSER 2 that is in place, that has been planned for, not just for this year, but looking to sustain it into the following year, and then complementing it with the programming that we'll design this summer. So a piece of that we'll be talking to you about is a safe return to in-person learning. That's a plan that's similar to the safe return to school that you did in the fall last year. It's a complement to that. It looks at what are we doing to return to school, knowing that if something should happen, we have a provision backup to be able to go to. But we're going with the idea that it's in person, but with the thinking of that we're always mindful that things can change quickly. So we'll be sharing that also with you. And the piece about communication is really critical. So it needs to be accessible to the public. That's the language of the communication that has been underscored. And so working with Pat and Andy, looking at something that we're called Take 5, which will be narrated presentations that we put on our website that really breaks down the process into small little bite-sized hors d'oeuvres. And so we're going to start with, what is ARP ESSER? And so hopefully we'll have that recorded and ready for consumption maybe by even next week, and working with folks to have that accessible on our webpage, because you know that my dream is to have a more sort of interactive webpage. So we'll have that. I've already started that background. That's already in place, and I'm going to work with John to see how we connect it to our current website. So it is a big lift. It's not something that I should do by myself. I won't be doing it by myself. It'll be a collective effort by my colleagues, sharing it with you so that you have that understanding, so that we can move forward to serve the students of Lebanon. Do you have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Nicole.
So I'm going to put a plug in again for the additional staff that we need here. I mean, I'm looking at this, and it's great, and I was looking at ESSER 1, and that, we bought a lot of products with that to get us through COVID, and the ESSER 2 gave us all these interventions, which is great. But this next big chunk of money, I know those class sizes are huge, and with more people coming back next year, hopefully we won't have masks in the fall, and we'll have more kids entering the school system. I also want to do some more research on the kids that are homeschooled as well. Is there any way to get in touch with those families and see what their plans are for next year, or ask them, what moving forward? And the reason why is because these class sizes, I'm very concerned about them. The 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I really would like to see some of this money go to hiring more staff, because when you have smaller class sizes, Jeanette Picard is absolutely correct. When you have smaller class sizes, you can have a teacher that can work better with a smaller amount of kids and get their needs met. I'm a teacher. I know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to put a giant plug for that. I know you have all these wonderful, innovative strategies and stuff, but I really think we need more teachers in the school. That's all.
Can I ask a question also, sort of related to Nicole's comment, but I'm wondering if we can have a curriculum subcommittee meeting, if that would be the appropriate time to discuss. That's what we're going to,
yeah.
Figures also, as far as, because I think I heard you say is more of like a place.
Just thinking on right.
Yeah.
The story hasn't been written, and that's why it's important to have the data and to have an understanding of what that impact is going to look like and sound like, and then have the places identified in which you're going to be able to collect information to be able to illustrate the impact on student learning. So all of that has not, nothing has been written. I just kind of made up a story on paper to be able to sort of show you sort of the thinking. I think we looked at some of the costing out of things. I don't know if you've heard that teacher shortages are humongous. Did you hear about even elementary are getting to be in shortage areas? So, how do we plan for that? So I'm just, as teachers out on the board, just knowing that everybody is probably looking for those extra bodies. So the sooner we make these decisions, the better, so that we can look for those individuals. But you're right. So that's one of the things that Danelle and I talked about, was having a curriculum meeting so we could start to talk about that. But a key ingredient will be sort of a mind collaboration with the team, which is happening in 2 weeks, to really start to identify what those priorities are, using data and making those decisions. So again, not that I write the story is written by what is needed. We just have to be able to articulate clearly that needs assessment, what evidence do we have, and then the clear strategies that will be utilized to be able to make that impact. So it's all of it is possible. Nothing's off the table.
So I think that just to give you a way of thinking about it, we started it. When I said at the top of this hour, we've spent $780,000. If we look at this list and just look at 4 items, the first item is three new teachers, one for the 4th grade, one for the 5th, one for the 6th. That's about $300,000 over 2 years. A literacy specialist, a reading specialist, which is something that many have asked for and you need it. So to put that in, that's $160,000 over 2 years. A math interventionist or support person, $160,000 over 2 years. And then finally, as you all know, we needed to put the social worker into the grant monies because we took that cut during the budget season. So that's another $160,000. So just those 4 categories, the $780,000 is gone. And that's what Holly is talking about. No decisions have been made on that, but it's a way to think about it, because the thing the state is looking for, and rightly so, is so you have those things. How does that respond to how you're going to work differently? What is going to be different? What are you going to do with that? In other words, what is the innovation? Because the losses are great, and they are different than we've had in any other years that we've been doing schooling. For 100 years, we've been schooling in this way. So that's all, just something to think about, and I think the place to really get into it is the curriculum.
Yeah, and even after I said that, I was thinking, finance clearly should be a part of that conversation.
Sure.
So,
absolutely.
Any other questions?
Good idea.
Yes, please.
Great. Thank you.
And I'll work with Danelle to make sure that we use this time as wisely as possible. So I'll come up with any materials and share them beforehand, so you have a chance to kind of digest anything that we come up with. I'll talk with you so that you feel prepared for that time.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was helpful. Okay, moving right along to our facilities report. Number 1 is the LED lighting project we're all excited to hear about.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yes. Hold on a minute, Kevin. It's still very quiet.
Okay, so I'd like to reintroduce Mr. Chris Jordan to the table. And it's going to ask me more to a third one. He's going to give an update on the LED lighting project where we are today.
Thanks, Kevin. You might recall from a few moments ago. So I am a town resident, and I am working with Earthlight on these 3 projects. I'm sure that by now you probably have the revised cash flow sheet in front of you. I don't know that there's a lot to go over there unless you have questions, but basically what happened was Eversource along with Earthlight worked together to basically take the we had 6 proposals before, depending upon whether you wanted to go new or retrofit, would have allowed you to pick 3 of the 6. So what Eversource decided to do was, well, we're gonna bust that back out to 6 projects, 6 separate projects, so we can maximize the incentives and maximize the financing as well. So that's why you now see 6 separate projects in front of you. From an administrative point of view, that's the way it appears in the Eversource system. That's the way it appears in the contractual arrangement that the superintendent signed off on, I think a week and a half or so ago. But from the school's perspective, there are 3 projects, 2 for each school, and you won't know, there won't be any way to make the distinction once the work is happening. You'll have new fixtures in the one area, and you'll have retrofit fixtures in the other. So what Eversource wanted us to do was to make sure we maximize the technology where the technology was most needed, which it was in the classrooms, more than like in the hallways. So that was the other driving factor. They wanted to get as much technology into the project as possible, because this is basically the last bite at the apple when it comes to lighting. You'll never do another lighting project again unless somehow they come out with something that uses no energy, because once you convert these to LED, there's no fruit on the vine left to go after to save energy. So and credit is due to Eversource for wanting to push to get this configured in the most advantageous way for the town. So that's why you see what you see. And I think actually, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the sheet in front of me, but I think not only did they made our job more difficult when it came to building the projects, but I think the cash flow turned out better for the town than it was under the original proposal. So I'll attend meetings all day long when the proposal gets better, as we go through time. So that's good. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And they worked hard to get it to be that point. I don't know. I know they've ordered the materials. While I wouldn't feel comfortable committing to a date certain for install, I'm strongly inclined to believe that it'll be this summer, because they want to get it done when there's nobody in class. So we're going to be, the material delivery schedule will be a little tight, but I think if they can get in here during the school break and have the run of the place, they'll get it done in no time. So my hope and expectation is it'll probably be in the summer, but I won't know until we know. And that's the other thing I wanted to commit to real quick is, as soon as I have some kind of indication as far as delivery goes and what they're looking at, then I'll communicate that to Kevin, if that's okay, and he can pass it along to the board, if that works. Question?
So, can they, as this project gets going here and you get a little more firm commitment on products coming, is there things that they can do? For example, let's just say we're going to replace all the light fixtures in here. Can they come in and just take the light fixtures out so that all they have to do is put the new ones in when it comes in, so that they're like prepping for the next part of their work? Is that things they can do to move the project along? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Most of you people don't know me well enough to know that I'm one of the least organized people in the world, and I don't even recognize it when people like that do it, because it's like beyond my abilities. But it would surprise me that they would. I wouldn't expect them to come, rip stuff out, and then come back at a later time. If I'm understanding your question right,
I'm just saying, get it ready for the next part that they have to do. I mean, if it's a matter of time, if you wait until you physically have the product in your hand.
So what I would suggest is, and I'll suggest this to them, is that what you're opening the opportunity for them to come in when the schools are open. They can come in at their leisure. Granted, you don't want to get rid of all the lights,
right?
But
in the non-essential areas that are definitely going to be. I mean, obviously the retrofit ones, that might be a different scenario. I'm just I'm speaking from having been a mechanic years ago. You order the part that you need to fix the car, you take it apart, you get it ready so that you can put the part in when it hits the door.
Absolutely. So I will suggest that to them, and to the extent that it's to an advantage to get the project done, in a more timely manner, then I see no reason why they wouldn't entertain such a thing. Yeah.
Okay, so what would be a reason for them not to do the project in the summertime? Is that even a possibility?
I would say at this point, the only way that's possible is if the material lead time is beyond summer.
When were the materials ordered?
I think the day after the superintendent signed the contracts, and that was like a week and a half ago or so, or 2 weeks.
Okay, so it takes 4 to 8 weeks for the materials to come in.
Yeah.
So we're looking at earliest end of July. Can you do this in a month? Can you?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
How much time does it take to install all 3 schools?
Now I'm trying to remember when we did it last time, back in 07, 08-ish. They'll come through. They won't be in this school for more than a week. In the high school.
Per school? 1 week per school, or 1 week for all 3 schools?
I would say I would feel more comfortable. Again, I don't get involved in the logistics, but I don't think they're going to be more than 1 week in a school.
Okay.
On average.
Is it Earthlight installing
Yes.
or Eversource? Okay.
No, it's Earthlight.
Just Earthlight. Okay. So worst case scenario, 8 weeks is now we're looking at mid-August. So we might be going into the fall. So this is totally dependent on the materials when they come in. Correct.
And again, I will push them tomorrow to get a better idea and see what their expectations are. They should have an expectation right now as to whether they're planning on getting this done in the summer. They should know that, and I will relay that information as soon as I get it.
Please. I mean, we would love for it to be done in the summer. I really don't want them working while there's kids here.
Oh, no. And think about it from their perspective. They don't want to have guys in here working second and third shift.
Yeah.
They want to get it done first shift. So the management of Earthlight is going to try to get this thing done in the summer. Guaranteed. Well, guaranteed they want to. I won't guarantee that it'll get done.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's their inclination.
Okay. Thank you.
All set? Any other questions?
I thought he said he wasn't a good public speaker.
Hey, listen, I have 2 young girls that went through the school system here, and it takes a lot to keep up with them. So,
Well, thank you very much. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, item number 2 on the facilities report is the SCG 1050 School Facility Survey.
I can speak to that. Okay, so we submitted the survey to the city committee on May 26th. It's the SCG 1050 School Facility Survey that replaced the ED 050 survey 2016. So this is 5 years in the making. The person in charge, Austin Yamada, Deputy Secretary of School Construction Grant, was instrumental in development of the survey for shaping school construction policy. It's a very thorough survey. I have a couple points I'm going to share with you that have been added to the ED 050 survey, which include the latitude and longitude of each school building, the electricity usage at 6 kilowatt hours per year, the annual heating oil usage in gallons per year, the emergency generator size and KW for each school system, the technology systems updated in the last 5 years, that has happened in Lebanon. The water systems, the Tank A is a certified water operator, which is Millennium Water. And lastly, annual volcanic array, square footage of the panels, the output KW for our solar systems at the elementary and middle school. That's just a few of the things that they've added to the survey. The survey is very, very thorough, very intense.
Kevin, can you come back, because I was having a hard time understanding the beginning of what you were saying. The intent of the survey is to ensure that school systems are addressing all areas of facilities. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yes, you're correct in understanding that. Also, I think the main focus of the survey is they're looking forward to any construction that's going to happen long term in the school. So if they know the footprint of the school, the size of the roof, the size of the solar, how much electricity the school uses, what their size of the generators are, what the years, the boilers, how old the boilers are, and so on and so forth, they can draw a picture in their mind of what's going to be needed in that school and what potentially I might be asking for from the state of Connecticut as far as either grants and or dollars going forward to get these projects completed.
Okay, I have some questions. First of all, is this done on a yearly basis?
Okay, so this is a new survey. Typically what we've done in the past is we've done this every 3 years. The last one I did with Joey Waldron was in 2016. So I looked at the website today. The one that's on there is from 2013. So I don't know what happened there. So in 2019, I reached out to the state of Connecticut and I said, we don't need Eagle 50. I got with Dr. Pinsky, I got with the superintendent, and we got nothing back to the state. They said, something's coming out, we just don't know when. So in April of this year, they sent a thing out to us saying, you're doing another survey called the SEP 1050 School Facility Survey. So that's where we are. And I don't know if it's going to be an annual thing or it's going to be a tri-annual thing like the EEO 50 was. But they haven't sent stuff back to us saying they will be coming back to us, communicating back to the district their expectations for that all I got.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add to that, because every school district has to do that. Everything Kevin said is correct. My understanding is that there was a push from the legislature to have this report done. So I don't know, there's probably some association with future government bonding and the public needed that they can do in the local sense, statewide.
So my next question is, who does the survey? Is this done by you, Kevin, and your team, or is this done like by a body that comes from the state to look at all our stuff?
No, that's not my name.
Okay.
It was a big burden on the facilities directors because initially there wasn't a lot of time and then they extended the deadline by a little bit, but it's really work and it takes an awful lot of time to do. And, I had to have this done in the new district. We can have old ones. Some of the data is historical. The state couldn't supply us with an old copy. They didn't know what they did with it, so I wasn't too happy about that. I don't know what they did with all the older reports. The last one on file was 2013, even though it was done in 2016. I have no idea what happened to those older ones.
When is this new report due?
At the end of May, wasn't it, or something like that?
It was submitted.
I submitted in May 23rd.
Yeah.
But there are some holes in it. I'm not going to lie. There's holes in it. The question, and I want to say that I even had John Dulac with me. I saved the report, and I went back in there, and all the information was wiped out. So it's not, there's still a work in progress with the state of Connecticut, but it's been submitted. That's all I can say.
Okay. I have another question, but not about any of these two things.
Is it to do with facility? What is it to do with?
Of the LES ventilation. It's not on here. And the last time we met, we gave him to the end of May with Anchor Engineering. So I would like an update on that, because if they're not doing their part, we're looking for another engineering.
Kevin,
Okay.
What do you have for us?
I have an update for the windows. I actually got a communication. I met with them, and I have the budget proposal in front of me. I did it with the superintendent. The budget for the windows only is $600,000.
How much?
$600,000.
Okay.
That's for the new replacement windows only, and does not include the abatement or any of the stuff that would need to be done. So if you're suggesting going out to bid in February, if you want to get it done over summer vacation, you have to bid awarded at the end of February to get the materials on site by June.
Okay. What else?
The engineer has not got back to me with the date of hearing, and I think he's still hospitalized. The assessment project, we're looking at the next couple weeks to have the actual sample taken after the kids get out of school. That's where we're at.
Is Crop doing the abatement analysis?
No.
Who's doing it?
It's going to go through either Anchor or it's going to go through Mystic Air.
Do they have the samples right now?
They don't. No, because kids are still in school. I don't want to disturb anything until the kids are out of school.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So what happened with the ventilation?
The engineer has not gotten back about the ventilation system. We just have information about the windows.
We did say at our last meeting that if we hadn't heard, then we were going to move along to a different engineering firm. Isn't that correct, Kevin?
I put that as that was for the windows. I didn't realize that was for the ventilation system. I think you've already spent good money with Anchor and this other engineer. I would suggest not going to another engineering firm and starting from square one. It's going to cost a lot more money.
Well, we can't afford to wait any longer. We need to move forward with this. We need to communicate this information to our other boards in town as soon as possible.
Okay, so knowing that the 66 lane, upper and lower 66 lane, is approximately $150,000 as a budget number to get that makeup area installed. If you're adding first grade lane, in my mind, is half that size. I would add $100,000 to that to bring it to $250,000 as a budget number to present to the board at finance. And at that point, once you get that approved, we walk the bid and get a real number.
Kevin, we cannot just give numbers to the Board of Finance. They want something written. They want, itemized, or else they're going to laugh at us. So we've been asking this for months. We need Anchor Engineering to give us a quote so we can forward it to Board of Finance.
Okay,
we need this yesterday.
It's a budget number. It's a budget number. We don't get a real number until we walk the bid anyway.
But we need to have something concrete to present to Board of Finance. We've been asking that from Anchor Engineering for months now. We have to get that.
I'll get a whole nine right there right away and see if they can get it over.
Nicole, could you put a finance and facilities meeting on the books, please, as soon as possible? Kevin, please keep us posted on that. I know it sounds like we're getting impatient, but it's been months. I feel like we've been more than patient about this. This is a project that we feel very strongly for. We voted on it a while ago to get these estimates. I don't know how many months ago it was, probably 5-6 months ago. So this needs to be done within the next couple of weeks. We need a plan.
We'll do June 22nd.
Thank you.
Yep. It's 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
I'm on vacation the first week. We can do it on vacation.
That's the second to last week of June.
How about the 29th? Are you available the 29th?
We're meeting with the superintendent for we have a meeting all with that, and he's not meeting with the superintendent.
What time is your meeting?
I'm not even sure. Now, I'm sure we'll know. That's after office, correct?
So you're not available the week of the 21st, June 21st?
I'm taking that week off. That's the first thing I've had off for 2 years.
But you're available the week after that?
Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be the week after that.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yep.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can do like a different day. It doesn't have to be Tuesday, although it's better for me.
Tuesday or Thursdays.
Tuesday, Thursday? All right.
Even virtual, Nicole, if you need to.
Yeah, I'll probably do it virtual. And I can go late too, so. Okay, so June 29th or July 1st?
You want to do virtual after 8:30, I can do anything with that.
Yeah. Is he meeting with you, Pat, on June 29th?
I don't think so.
Which superintendent are you meeting with on June 29th?
He's not meeting with Pat.
I'm not positive though. That's why I heard you very well.
Are you?
It's a planning meeting for,
Oh, it's the 30th. So the 29th you are available. We'll do it the 29th. Okay, moving on.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move along to our finance report. Thank you for joining us, Bob.
So I tried to do the best I can. Unfortunately, my other meeting ended early enough to be here.
Thank you.
You know, it's the end of the year, we're into June, so it becomes easier and easier to come up with a forecast. You'll see in the narrative that I'm estimating the last still about $125,000. Down from the $175,000 to $200,000 range. The last month and a half, there's been some census that have come in, and I've tried to highlight some of the areas. Legal expenses continue to be over budget. We haven't lessened too much. It's something that should be on that is some negotiations and things like that have just been protracted. I was disappointed in the final excess cost reimbursement. We saw it drop at about $33,000 in net. Ship was done in December. You're supposed to receive 75% of the final total grant numbers, and it calculated out 492. That was listed on the paperwork from the state. Based on our final submission, it ended up dropping by $33,000, so that affects the overall bottom line price, bottom line ending number. And then, Cheryl Beaver, what you know, we had some increased costs on the special ed side, which has lowered our total net payable ending down to about $100,000. I was talking about food health. Become less of a deficit because of people leaving. We got to pay the health insurance portion for those people. And in the spring, we ended up spending more money on heating oil than expected. So, and one unknown that I'm not sure what the extent will be the end athletic related expenses for athletic travel, officials, and fees to the referees and that sort of thing. Full athletic competition, which is a good thing. So that's the summary of the financial picture at this point in time.
Bob, thank you for that. You were really choppy for us. I was able to follow along with the page in the packet. I'm not sure if everybody else was pretty much it, but those of you in the public are probably thinking, how do you even know what he said? But thank you for that, Bob. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a finance question about, so our budget was passed in May, and our cuts are to the extra custodians and the half-time secretaries. Is there anything else that is being cut at this time, or is that it?
The social worker was as well.
Bob, if you face the screen, you're much clearer. When you turn away, you're not clear.
Okay, how's that? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, what I intended to do for the budget, because I need to upload a budget into ProFund so requisitions can commence from the year. My understanding from attending the Board of Finance meetings and from the board chairman in my mind, it was pretty clear that after the budget was approved at $20 million, that Board of Finance fully intended to turn any surplus this year, as well as the $290,000 from last year's budget into the non-elected fund. And I believe we quoted the Liz Sharon's exact words, but she said it's up to the Board of Education that their money is used for any special ed expenses. So, no step taken by the Board of Education to reduce salary positions that were in the original approved budget. I would take the Board of Finance at their face value and the roughly $214,000 that was cut from the Board of Ed budget. I would simply reduce the tuition line items. And when the school year begins, I would submit a request to pay $120,000 and plan this out of the non-web. That way your operating budget remains whole and intact and represents what the Board of Education did in fact pass. If you want me to do something different, for guidance and direction.
How much do we have in non-lapsing right now?
I don't have it in front of me, but it's about, should be at least $350,000 or more.
Is it possible to use those funds for the extra social worker or no?
I think what I'm hearing is that...
It might be up to the Board of Finance to see how they interpreted that for special education expenses. Is a social worker special education, and that's how they wrote the ordinance?
No.
No. What I'm hearing, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the idea is that we can use that non-lapsing money for the special ed funds that are already in our operating budget and utilize...
If I adjust the budget that way, you actually have to do, as I said, immediately and use that for special ed, or you can wait and see because you never know what the budget year is going to bring. And if in fact end up not needing to use money from the non-lapsing funds to balance the budget, say something positive happens somewhere, and you would end up in the black anyway and didn't need to use it because you don't have to do that in July for the first tuition. You could access that $214,000 shortfall anytime for a year at the funding. I just have to reduce $214,000 somewhere. And just as a reminder for the current 2021 budget, we had a similar situation where we had estimated savings due to the early retirement program of about $107,000. But all I did for that was put in a negative $107,000 in the salary expense line item.
I don't know, Bob, we are losing you again. But I wanted to ask you, we don't have to decide to do this month, do we?
No, you don't. But all I need to do is I have to on paper reduce the budget by $214,000. And I can do that in a simple one line item negative if you want. It doesn't impact any of the budget line items that you part of the budget.
I'm not sure I understood that. Could anybody rephrase for me here or no?
Something about $214,000.
I believe what he said was the Board of Finance reduced us by $214,000. He can take it from any place.
It was more than that. They reduced us by, I thought it was $94,000.
294.
Yeah.
The internal budget is $20,200,000. And the line item everyone at both expenses. line item called budget reduction, $200,000, and to have a budget online equal to $20 million. And that will be one of the line items that you approve in your budget process on effective.
So the question is, can we address this social worker position? Can we, look at that again and see if we can put that back in the budget again?
Well, I think what he's asking right now is, do we want him to take the money from non-lapsing and put it into our operating, correct?
Well, I can't.
Oh my gosh, Bob, we really can't.
In the camera, just like that. Just don't move your head.
I'm about 2 inches tall. Roughly, the board of finance copy budget by $214,000. Okay?
Because he's subtracting the social worker out of it because I don't have the answer to it. So that's why it's 214. So it's 294 minus 80.
So, if I pull up the market over the finances it is, it's going to be $214,000 too high on the social worker. It's going to have a line. That's reduction. So I can either reduce something specific, like special ed tuition, because if you end up needing that money to be put back in, the Board of Finance made it clear that the Board of Ed has the opportunity to take money from the non-lasting fund to pay for special ed expenses.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, and the reason...
And you don't need to do that now. You can wait until the year goes on to see if you really need to do that.
I think that's important.
I mean, no other line item is money to do this.
Is that the fact that, when we have money in the non-lapsing account and we go to budget season and they see that, then they make comments like the Board of Ed has plenty of money. And we're saving it for rainy days all the time, but yet we're cutting the social worker that we probably really need for next year.
But correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the purpose of moving it is that we have a direction from the Board of Finance to use that non-lapsing for special ed needs. So if we reduce that line item now and use it in other areas, we have the guarantee of that money staying there non-lapsing to use for special ed when needed. I think that's what we're trying to accomplish there. I'll try to make it.
All right. You have the social worker. It's in. We have one. I thought this was for the second one, right?
No, this is the second. We already have one that's employed, but this is...
Right, this would be for the second.
Yes.
That's caught now. No.
No, it's an answer 2 and 3.
Oh, okay.
We want the answer 2 grant social worker that moved into the
Okay, that's what I was confused on. Okay, I'm good now.
That sounds good, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have something coming up the food service that you wanted to address? Okay. Do you want to add?
Did you want to do food service now or wait?
Okay, yes. So, food service is an item on our, and it's an action item, but would it be okay if Bob talks about it?
I make a motion.
Thank you.
That we move the food service contract to now so that Bob can be done with the meeting if he'd like.
So you'd like to move the action?
Yes.
An action item?
Unless somebody else wants to second it and we don't do it.
Okay, thank you. Maureen made a motion to amend the agenda by introducing action item number 2.
Yep.
After the finance report. Any discussion? No? All those in favor, raise your hand. That's unanimous. Motion passed. Okay, before we go ahead and take action on it, would you like to give us a little bit of background?
Sure, that's not a problem at all. Due to COVID-19, all food service programs in the state were basically free. Coinciding with that, this was also the year that approve the food service management contract with the hope to go out to bid. The state recognized that that's a pretty impossible thing to do because one of the criteria for going out to bid is a true meal projection on revenues and how many meals are going to be served and so on and so forth. So the food service companies wouldn't have any solid data to stand on, so they gave districts the opportunity to waive that requirement of going out to bid. And early this year, the Board of Ed in Lebanon emphasized that option and chose not to go out to bid. Regardless of that, however, our fourth one-year renewal with Chartwell comes to an end on June 30th. So we have to do a fifth amendment with food service companies. According to the state regulations and guidelines on doing contracts, the state has a very specific way to do the contract. Have verbiage from that in your board packet. And you have to submit a contract unsigned and unexecuted to state review and approval before they can act on it. So I did do that, and the parameters for the increase are set by the state in terms of the maximum for the admin and management fee. So that contract with Chartwell has prevented. There is no meal increase issues to discuss this year because everything again is for the next year.
Okay, great.
So basically, the board has to enter into a contract before June 30th, and this contract before you has been approved by the state. So if you do this tonight, there's nothing further to do.
Okay, thank you, Bob. So I'm looking for a motion to enter into
And I did write language for you on that sheet if you so choose to act on it.
It's on page 27.
27.
So I think.
Thank you. Okay, so I will take a motion to approve the food service management renewal amendment between the Lebanon Board of Education and the Compass Group, USA Incorporated, by and through its Chartwell's division for the period beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second. Motion by John, seconded by Nicole. Any discussion? No? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. All right, very good. That brings us to item number 12 on the agenda, which is an end-of-year overview, and I believe Pat would like to give us a little bit of information on where we stand as an end-of-year. Just to give you a quick background, Pat and I had a conversation about what we had expected of her as far as an annual report, and we discussed that an overview, general overview, may be a little more appropriate considering her short time with us. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to give you a hard copy, because I'm going to own that right up to the wire. I think I was putting finishing touches on the interim superintendent's message in the end-of-year report. Still maybe around 4:30, 4:45. But I think what I would like you to know about this, and this is any end-of-year report, any overview, any annual report, the best purpose of that is so that you can look at it, digest it, see what it informs you of, presents strengths and weaknesses and so on which you can go forward with strategic planning and goals and make sure things are aligned for the coming year. So that's the value of it. And that really is what this is. We've tried to give you as much data as possible It shows the strengths and weaknesses, as much data as possible that shows celebrations and accomplishments as well as areas in need of address. I think that it is closely aligned with the strategic goals, trying to give the staff, the administrative team, the superintendent, a floor under some of the areas that need to be looked at that are state-driven. So, of course, we know that we're concerned about filling in academic learning losses, but we also know that social and emotional growth is the best vehicle through which we are able to do that with students. And so, I think if you read the message in the beginning, it's by no means a lofty message, but it's really putting some underpinnings that the rest of the report will support for academic achievement, for social and emotional growth, and I would put those two in my world, of course, and for generating positive parent, guardian, community partnership and support. And so when you go through, there's quite a bit of data here. There's a lot of narrative. It's connected to our missions, our goals, the portrait of a graduate. Pages 8 and 9 of the report is, I think I had a discussion with our chair about trying to do things a little bit differently and have snapshots of things. And so, you're looking at these numbers when you have a superintendent for a lot longer than I've been able to be here. You can almost pick how you might like to depict numbers that sort of jump out at you. Percentages, again connected to the strategic plan, and all of this work is obviously what's the underpinning for each of the ESSER applications as well. So it's here for you. I just wanted to preface it for you. I'm sorry it's in hard copy and it's not in the electronic packet, but I'm not going to have the privilege of working with you all on this report and going forward with it. So at least, I want to be as thorough as we possibly could to have something to digest and think about, and would love to be here during your July board meeting. I'm sure I won't be, but I think it gives you a good place to start. So,
well, thank you very much for this talk.
I like that talk.
More than ever. Thank you so much. That brings us to our new business, which do not require any action, but I'm thinking that Maureen may want to give us a little background on the first reading of some changes to some policies.
Well, actually, that's not really changes because, a couple of them are. But we got some policies from the attorney that we have not in our manual that we thought we ought to address first. So that's we talked about school-owned vehicles on the board, and so we brought that one forward and updated that one. And we did not have any of the rest of these. So here they are for first reading, and our committee will recommend that we pass them next meeting.
Anybody have any questions on the policies that have been submitted for first reading? I know a lot of them came to us today, but the ones they were also, the one in the packet titled School-Owned Vehicles is one that we discussed together last month. Anybody have any questions about the changes there?
This is why our legal fees are a little high sometimes.
Well, right. A lot of our policies are due for revision, and they're considerably, dated. So.
Well, considering we didn't even have these.
Right. Okay, no questions? We'll move right along. We will move on to our action items. Number 1, act on the letter of resignation.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the letter of resignation with regret.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by John, second by Nicole. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the letter of resignation, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. Action item number 2, we just voted on. We will move along to action item number 3, to act on extending policy number 0003-C19, policy concerning health and safety protocols related to the COVID-19 pandemic.
As you know, the COVID ones will be running out as of the end of the month, but our attorney recommended we keep this one, and so that is why it's an action item.
That's right. COVID renewal policy.
Why? Okay, that. You ask the question.
The attorneys, there were hosts, just rafts of policies that were passed specific to specific items related to the COVID thing. They are recommending that all of them lapse, but just the general policy concerning health and safety protocols stay in effect. So that's their recommendation. That's it.
What was the...
Just the one in your packet?
When it says the board directs administration of the Lebanon Public Schools to develop health and safety protocols consistent with applicable laws, rules, regulations, and requirements, and to consider current guidance in the development of such protocols. It just makes
nothing specific, just that we have jurisdiction over what happens next.
Which has pretty much been their posture right along the state.
It says we do have jurisdiction or we don't.
You do, right?
I read it as we don't. We have to do what the state says no matter what.
Well, it says in accordance with the state law. Yeah.
If anything is enacted in law, then we have to do that because it's a law. But for the most part, what the state has said is, here's what we strongly urge, we encourage, we recommend, etc. But of course, it's a local decision. When it's a local decision, we can establish that. And that's where shouldn't everyone is right now.
So, in other words, we have the final say.
Unless it's a law.
To develop, we need to read this out.
Which page are you on? I cannot find it.
42. Very last page.
Original packet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was...
Oh, in the other.
Yeah, I think so.
For first reading. Yeah.
No. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think that we should read this, actually, the whole policy out loud. So, Maureen, would you like to, or would you like me to?
Okay.
Go ahead.
The Board of Education recognizes the importance of developing health and safety protocols to protect the health and safety of students, staff, and the community during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Board thus directs the administration of the Lebanon Public Schools, the administration, to develop health and safety protocols consistent with applicable laws, rules, regulations, and requirements, and to consider current guidance in the development of such protocols. Compliance with such health and safety protocols shall be mandatory for all individuals while on school property or participating in a school-sponsored activity unless a legally recognized exception applies. Failure to comply with such health and safety protocols may lead to disciplinary action for students and staff and exclusion from school property or the school-sponsored activity for members of the community in accordance with applicable laws, rules, regulations, and/or board policies. The administration shall provide appropriate notice of such health and safety protocols. Notice may be provided by way of electronic mail, regular mail, website posting, student handbooks, employee handbooks, and/or any other appropriate method. Connecticut State Statutes 10-221.
And the guidance document that the State Department of Ed has put out, which is the Adapt, Advance, and Achieve plan. And that's what has been so confusing for boards, that what the state has put out guidance, not laws or mandates. Anything that was put into law, an applicable law, we are charged with developing health and safety protocols that will address those laws. The second paragraph I read as compliance with our health and safety protocols here, that we clearly notice, we clearly explain, and we're consistent and relevant. But it's not that we are mandating something that isn't in the law.
Questions or comments? Yeah, so since this whole thing started from the beginning, I remember emailing administrators about graduation and saying, and we use words like mandates as opposed to requirements, as opposed to suggestions, and all these words intertwine, and so it makes it as clear as mud of what has to happen. When you see the word mandate, well, that means it has to happen. But these things aren't law. And then there's, maybe the word suggestion is not one of the words, but it's rules, regulations, requirements, and guidance. And that's where I pick apart the words and I say, this is guidance, it doesn't mean you have to have it. But then later on in the same document it says mandates. So I just cringe at a document like this because I can't disagree with the people that came to speak. This is another year after the pandemic started, and by agreeing to this, I feel like I'm saying, yeah, we just got to continue on with whatever the state says, we can't do anything different. And that's why I feel like I would have a hard time accepting this as written. It's not a local thing. This is what's happening with all the documents that we're getting about stuff.
See, and I totally agree with you, Danelle, but I read it as, yes, we get guidance from the state, but ultimately we are the final sayers in what happens in our school system. That's what I interpret out of this.
So whenever someone's asked me, can we please take the masks, can we please stop this, can we please go to games, can we please participate in activities, can we please do school building, we get our guidance from the superintendent, who gets the guidance from the Department of Public Health, who gets it from the State Department of Education. It's like, it just goes up. So everybody says, it's not me, it's them, it's them, it's them. And it's like, so when do you have a voice to ever speak? Why did I join this board? If I can't change anything that you want, because it has to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different levels.
Right, but now things have changed because we have the vaccine. More people are vaccinated and there's less COVID cases, so now things are getting better. So now things are different. But before, when we didn't have the vaccine and all that, we had to follow what the state said in the health regulations because we weren't sure what was happening here. So but I interpret it as the Board of Ed makes the final say what happens.
But when did it change that we don't have to follow those rules? Nobody has said that we don't have to follow those rules. We have guidance that we have to follow. We've been following them from day one.
But that's the word guidance. It doesn't mean it's the law.
But look where we are right now. Look what we've been able to do in this district because we've been following the guidance. Go ahead. I'm going to let you talk.
I just have a question. So what happens if we vote this down? I mean, the lawyer recommended we keep it. What happens if we vote this particular bylaw down? Just asking.
This is not.
That doesn't mean we won't follow guidance. That doesn't mean we won't follow recommendations. But what happens if the lawyer recommended we keep this? What happens if we don't do what the lawyer said? I'm just asking.
I don't know the answer to that question. This is a recommendation that we adopt.
Right.
So, go ahead, Dawn.
So my belief is what would happen is that administration doesn't have the ability to make decisions. Every decision would come back to the board because this gives the administration the ability to develop a plan. I also want to go to, similar to Danelle, but actually kind of different. So all those words, I'm like, oh gosh, okay, here we go. However, laws come from the state, rules, regulations, and requirements come from local, like the Department of Health or something like that. Department of Health doesn't have any laws, so they have to explain all of these things because it is all these different layers. So think about We approved this before, and we gave the administration the ability to develop the plan. The plan that they executed had Lebanon in school much more than surrounding towns. Had we gone into debate and the administration couldn't execute their plan or even come up with a plan, we would have sat around here and just tried to figure it all out. So I support this because it gives the administration the ability to come up with a plan.
Thank you. Anybody else? If we didn't approve this policy, we would still want to keep anything regarding health. We would have to go back to any other policies we already have on the books. And I don't have any of them memorized, but we do have other things that relate to health. Just one side.
I think we should make a motion so that we can further discuss at this point, because it sounds like we're having discussion. We haven't had a motion on the floor. So I will make a motion to renew or adopt the continuation of the program intake policy.
Thank you. Motion by Alexis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by John. Any further discussion? I want to just reiterate, I think what Ron was sort of hitting on was if we take away the power for administrators to make decisions in the keeping health and safety at the forefront, then I think that we are not giving them the power that they need. They need to be able to make these decisions. They have been making these decisions for us. They've guided us through all of this. And why are we going to go for, yes, we're frustrated. I don't want to wear this thing. I don't want to wear it, right? I don't. I have it on all day. It's not comfortable. I don't want to send my kids to school wearing it. I get it. But it's what is guided by the state to keep us safe. For right now, not forever, of course, but I don't want to take away the power of administrators to make the decisions for the safety of the entire district, vaccinated or not vaccinated.
I think it's a heavy load for them to have. I don't disagree with them. It's not that I don't trust them making decisions. I think it's a very heavy load for them to have, and it's one that I think that they should be open to more input, because there's many things that happened during the year that people did not agree with, that we're very unhappy about. And you could say, well, look, we're doing great. You're right, we are. Doesn't mean we wouldn't be if we didn't do some of those things.
True, but I would come back and just say, I think administration has heard, please take another look at how many guests we can have at graduation. And I think the door has been open. We have been looking into it. I think that the administration has been listening. Maybe not to the extent that some think, but they're taking another look at how many people can come to graduation. I do think that that's shown that voices have been heard.
And traveling to different districts for athletic events, Lyman is a complete lockdown compared to other towns. That's just one example. And again, we were told it wasn't our decision, it was an ECC decision. But each school acted differently. That's all I'm saying. I hate the terms that are in here, and I feel like it needs to be open for more discussion.
I'll agree it's a heavy load for the administrators, but I think it would be a real heavy load to have our body have to come back and deal with the day-to-day. I mean, we're 9 volunteers, and the idea would be daunting if we had to come back for all that. That's why we say, Pat, it's not going to give a word. Andy, that's the way I see it. I don't see where this policy necessarily restricts when it makes a political statement in any way. I just see it as business.
So I'll say one more thing. I think there's a contradiction between this policy and our reopening committee. When we look back to there were decisions made in the summer with the 50-person reopening committee. And then we had this, I was on the policy committee when I first joined in September, and this document was there, and I approved it. But then later on, as things were starting to open up, and looking back at the policy, our committee voted to say, here's an example, to open the building to be used by the Booster Club, the Ag Alumni Group, or whatever. But because the reopening committee said we can't do it, we couldn't do it. And so their decision superseded the board's policy that said we could. It's not this document, it's another one that said it could be used for certain things. So it's like, well, what am I doing for them? If the reopening committee has more power than a policy committee person, I don't want to be a dead horse. You can vote on it. It's fine. These are frustrations that I had being on the board when people say, let's do this and this, and I go, I don't feel like I have a whole lot of say in many things, and this is kind of one of them. So it's a frustrating situation. We've all been in it for a year. Nothing's new.
I'm just hoping that graduation is the 18th, and I'm hoping that when the 19th rolls around, everything will change.
Any further discussion? Do you have a motion on the floor? Okay, all those in favor of approving policy 0003-C19?
Well, it wouldn't be approving, it would be continuing.
Extending, I should say, extending, thank you. Policy 0003-C19. Please raise your hand. Okay, that would be, ready, Maureen? Dawn, Nicole, John, Alexis, Sarah. Thank you. All those opposed? Would be Matt and Danelle.
I'm abstaining.
And Maureen is abstaining. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, there's a item on the agenda, anticipated executive session. Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to go into an executive session.
We'll do the rest of it. Thank you.
For the purpose of discussing contract negotiations and unaffiliated salaries.
Thank you, Nicole.
Can we invite our new incoming superintendent to this? I'm asking a question on that.
Who usually attends these? Just the board?
It's going to be, because Pat's going to stay, right?
Right, we do need, and inviting Pat, we definitely need Pat, what do you think?
Technically, he's not employed yet, so that's just my feeling, but I think
we could invite him as a...
we need Pat because she was in the discussions with us during our...
I'm just asking, I'm not asking what that.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, motion by Nicole to enter into executive session, inviting Pat. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. An executive session at 9.